So we stay in Test Manager, so in the testing world, and we've seen fantastic features there. And I would like to give you some updates on performance testing, where we're currently in so-called Control J, as you guys remember, a couple of months ago, I've showed the private preview. And now we are doing with customers some projects already, some of them already productive, where we evaluate our product before we go G in October. So there is quite a lot of things we changed in the last couple of weeks and months based on the feedback we got. And a big portion of it was the UX overhaul. And I will dive into this in my demo. And the list is even as twice as long, but I think it doesn't make too much sense to bring it all here on the slides. But just to give you a quick idea, right? This is how it looked like 3 months ago, and this is how it looks right now, right? We see we have a progress bar and so on and so forth. I will show that all in the demo. But that's not all we did. We also did an integration into Data Fabric. That means we can now also populate the virtual users with data variations. So we use for each job, for each virtual users who's working against our system on a test, we state different data variants. And of course, a lot of things which are not visible on the interface on improving stability, also the automation, error detection, and so on and so forth. But I don't want to really lose time here. I would like to show you the product. And let's move this aside here a little bit. But as you guys know, we are in Test Manager here, and by 2510, you will see this in here, not in preview anymore, but in GA. So it is embedded in Test Manager, and you will be able to use test cases available in here directly as load performance scenarios, right? And on this screen already, we added a couple new columns for virtual users, duration, but mostly important, created by, so we can identify who has created this this scenario. This helps to find the right scenarios. So when we click on this, not too many changes here. We still have the same screen as before. We might gonna do an overhaul on this screen as well, but that didn't change too much. But here, for instance, the data source, this is something we introduced newly here. So when you click on that, you can, for instance, select the data fabric if you like. And if you go next, you can pick the entity. For the people who are familiar with this integration here from Studio Desktop, it is very much aligned to that. So that's more or less brought into this solution here. So let me just kick off an execution here to see what's new here in the UX here. You guys, as already mentioned, we did a complete overhaul. First of all, we have a progress bar here, right? It tells the user always what we're currently doing. Right now, it's loading a test configuration. Then it's moving into the second step, providing the resources. But because I ran one before, it is already providing the virtual users. Of course, you can also cancel it, so you always know in what stage you are. If you click on that, you still have the log, but it's not so prominent anymore. It's more for troubleshooting, etc. So you can move that aside if you don't want it. We have this high-level overview here. We see how many of these log groups are active, how many virtual users are currently working against your system, how many errors we detected, and so on and so forth. So I'll just move over here to a scenario which I just kicked off right before I started the presentation, so I can show you, save some time with the progress. So we can see here, we currently have 208 users, or this is constantly growing. We currently detected 0 errors, and we have an average response time of 60 milliseconds, which is pretty nice. And what also has changed here is that this navigation doesn't need that much scrolling anymore, right? So you just can easily click on this and compare the groups, for instance, where you are. And we can see that group 3 just started, and group 3 is a spike here. And we want to understand if this spike here more or less influences the other groups where we do logins and apply for loans, right? So it is way more convenient now. It's not so jumpy anymore. You don't have to expand and collapse things anymore. So that's pretty nice. And On top of that, we also introduced a new chart here, which is called the step duration chart. That means we're not only measuring the response times, but we also measure the step durations. That means how long a step of your automation takes to be executed, right? Because we go a lot for UI automation here, and as you guys know, when your automation is performed and if a UI is loaded and the robot can access the control, it would just click the button, for instance, and move to the next step. So this is really what we can see if get closer to what users really experience when they try to click buttons, etc., depending, of course, on the automation technology you're using. But on top of that, we got a lot of feedback that people want to use it more like widgets. Of course, we can't introduce so easily a widget concept here, but what you can do is you can enable and disable charts you want, and this is also persisted for each user, right? So if you, for instance, hide this, and the next time you come here, it will remain hidden. And by the way, we have some free space here. You can expect additional charts coming here in the future, especially when we move on to different technologies. But that's currently a way where you can suppress charts you're not interested in and put in charts you're more interested in too. On top of that, we also add more user experience here. For instance, some of you guys wondered while the execution, why we cannot see the web traffic or the automation errors, because this is something we can only provide you after the execution in a prepared manner. Probably somewhere in the future, we may be able to report this live, but for now, we just give you this placeholder here so you understand that this can be only accessed after the execution is done. So let me just move on here as well to the completed scenario. You can see here that we have, for each group, we have service level objectives. They are not fully fleshed out because right now we have only the maximum response time and the status is currently not reflected as it should be here. But this would be failed, for instance. We passed the threshold here. And for instance, in this case, this would be successful. We did because we didn't violate any threshold here, right? Just to give you an idea that we have service level objects, you will be able to define that in the future, more granular, but they will be also reflected here as an overall status if the automation was successful or not. So you can report a successful scenario automatically without the need to look really into this here. On top of that, we're currently working on a feature where you can set this manually. And of course, you can also expect more functionality in here, such as autopilot in the future and other stuff. We're also working on a comparison feature where you more or less compare one or multiple groups, and then you will get, for instance, the response times into one single chart. If you add this group compare mode, this is currently in progress, and hopefully I can show you that the next time when I do a demo on our product here. So let me see, I think I'm pretty good in time here. And let's see what else I do have here. Yeah, so but that was more or less it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to your questions. If you have maybe, yeah, I can't show that now here, but in case of automation errors that was also heavily requested, you can also expand now the screenshots, which makes it easy to understand where the step failed. And of course, the future, we also will have the ability to bring the recording into the screen. That means you will have all the relevant artifacts you need to analyze and to understand what happened in your scenario while executing into the screen here. That would significantly reduce the effort in analyzing performance scenario.